Hello there. A few months ago, free speech was given a bit of a kicking by PayPal, but it looks like our freedom of expression will be protected, but only if the government keeps its word. Now, if you haven't already done so, please do subscribe and then like and comment below. So the little guy might just have won this time, but only time will tell. And this could turn out to be a good news story as long as the government sticks to its word. Now, back in September, in a bolt from the blue, the Free Speech Union, the FSU, got an email saying its PayPal account had been terminated because it had supposedly broken some of the payment organisation's terms and conditions. Something that shocked the FSU founder Toby Young, especially as it came with other notifications saying he'd also had his Daily Skeptic account and his own personal account terminated as well. All at the same time. Some coincidence, eh? And other people got the same, like the UK Medical Freedom Alliance and Us for Them. Now, most people have got used to hearing about big tech bullying their customers when they don't toe some unspoken woke red line. The faceless administrators in big tech wave waftily at some inappropriate clause in their T's and C's and say the decision cannot be reversed and move on to the next poor blighter. And all this seems to be based not just on a concept of the company involved not liking your politics, but also that they think having you on board will taint their brand. While at the same time, most of these big finance companies have been quite happy to have rich oligarchs, dodgy oil princes and gangsters on their books, haven't they? However, Toby Young fought back and managed to spark the interest of politicians. Because as Guido Fawkes points out in his blog, the banks also class politicians as politically exposed persons who might find it difficult to get financial services if their politics are outside a specific bank's comfort zone. So MPs get the importance of this. And all this had a positive result. All of Young's accounts were reinstated. And Toby Young says that one good thing to come out of this whole episode was that it exposed the loophole in the law that allows these big finance companies to limit free speech by refusing their services to people who were just engaged in lawful debate, or more accurately in the case of the FSU, those who help people engaged in legal political debate. And one Tory MP, Sally Ann Hart, the MP for Hastings and Rye, put forward an amendment to the Financial Services and Markets Bill going through Parliament right now, called New Clause 15, that would, if it had been accepted into the bill when it was enacted, prevent the likes of PayPal demonetising people at a whim. And this appears to have been well received by her fellow MPs, although it does get a bit murky down the line. But first, here's what Toby Young said about New Clause 15 at the end of October.
As you may know, PayPal closed the account of the Free Speech Union last month with no notice and no real explanation. And because about a third of our members are paying their recurring membership dues via PayPal, that placed a huge question mark over the future of the organisation. We kicked up an almighty fuss, and about 2 weeks later, PayPal restored our account. But there are plenty of people whose accounts have been closed by PayPal for what appear to be purely political reasons, not because they've done or said anything unlawful. And we need to rein in payment processing companies like PayPal if we can. So please fill in the email below and send it to your MP, telling them that you support New Clause 15 of the Financial Services and Markets Bill, which is an amendment that's been tabled by Sally Ann Hart, MP. That new clause would make it illegal for payment processing companies like PayPal to close people's accounts or to withhold service from customers on purely political grounds. We need to do this to stop the emergence of a Chinese-style social credit system in the UK. It's very urgent. It's critically important. It'll only take a couple of minutes to fill out the form. So please, if you're concerned about this new sinister form of censorship, please do write to your MP and urge them to support new Clause 15 of the Financial Services and Markets Bill. Thanks.
Now the slightly murky bit. I understand Hart pulled this amendment after assurances from the government that they would deal with this issue properly through later legislation. But as Guido Fawkes points out, this is sometimes a government trick to squash unwanted interference. That's what ministers do with inconvenient amendments, to deal with them. Normally that's the last we hear of these things, writes Guido. But after hearing no more, an undeterred Hart pressed ahead and retabled her motion as new Clause 27. And this time she appears to have got her message across and also received the assurances that firm action will be taken, in the form of letters deposited in the House of Commons from PayPal, from the Financial Conduct Authority and from Andrew Griffith MP, the Economic Secretary to the Treasury, as well as talk of an upcoming consultation on the matter. But as Toby Young says, this is far from over, and on his LinkedIn page he says, "Next month we will publish details of how our members can most appropriately engage with the consultation and make it clear to the government that we want to see this creeping trend towards big tech platforms financially censoring customers who express dissenting views checked before it becomes institutionally normalised. We need to stop the emergence of a Chinese-style social credit system dead in its tracks." Now, if you want to learn more about this or think that the FSU can help you, or indeed if you wish to join it, go to the FSU website at freespeechunion.org or their YouTube channel. And no, I don't get a kickback if you join, but I am a member. And here's where I say, credit where credit is due. Sally Ann Hart didn't stop in her pursuit of what she feels is right. Now let's keep the conversation seasonal and talk about the cold. Over to you, Richard.
Thank you, Jeff, and good evening. Last night, the hypothetical and existential threat of the cold became very real to all of us as the senses were gripped by the drop in temperature. And I, like many of you, will thank Almighty God that we are not sleeping on the streets this winter or at any other time of year. Anyway, it occurred to me that for so long we have had the means and provision to end homelessness. After all, there are tens of thousands of people who have entered this country this year alone, and they have been given a roof over their heads and second to none medical attention provided by the state. Yet we have had no such provision in place for those people in this country who have ended up on the street after contributing to society. Why is this? Were their contributions to society so meaningless? Or are these new arrivals more important? And if so, why are they more important? What is their greater value? Maybe they are more highly skilled. The demographic of those arriving would suggest otherwise. So their value must be other than economic and societal. Well, perhaps the state regards their ethnicity or cultural background as more enriching and valuable. But I digress. The cold is here, as it is every year. However, modern life has increasingly disconnected us from the elements as we place our reliance for all forms of sustenance, such as food, heating and shelter, into the hands of others. And thus, if our reliance on others to provide our most basic necessities is disrupted, we will find ourselves unprepared to deal with such changes and left by our so-called protective state to the mercy of the elements. Those elements that our ancestors were not so fearful of, but mindful of, and made provision for them. So my question to you all is this: has our arrogance as a species placed us in peril, as we believe we are so much cleverer than our forefathers, who didn't have the luxuries we have become so reliant upon, such as electricity, indoor plumbing and central heating? I have always regarded myself as a localist, where my county should be the extent of my country. And in fact, Britain was once made up of many smaller kingdoms that were mostly self-sufficient for all their needs. So can't we apply 21st century knowledge to 9th century boundaries, and thus ensure we never have to face the prospect of freezing during the winter and food shortages because of conflicts in lands yonder? You don't have to be an eco-zealot to appreciate our connection to creation, and we need to relearn that connection as a society. Anyway, keep checking on your elderly neighbours and the vulnerable close to you, and make sure they have your phone number should they find themselves in trouble this winter. Anyway, back over to you, Jeff.
Thank you, Richard. And finally, when subscribing, please don't forget to press that little bell and also select the all option, or you won't get any notifications when I publish a new video. And thank you all so much for taking the time to watch the show.